Finish on this little song. Do you want to tell a story? You're good at telling stories.
Well, we mentioned earlier that we wrote almost all of this record on a beach in Mexico, and the reason we were in Mexico is we were.
It sounds luxurious. It really.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Almost like a.
We had during COVID we'd gone back to Ireland and then got stuck in Ireland and we weren't able to get back in the United States. And then through a very long series of kind of beautiful events, we ended up having an opportunity to come back here to the States. We had a quarantine either in Turkey or Mexico at the time. It was a really weird time in the world that there was like red lights and green lights. And I remember thinking, well, I'd prefer to get stuck in Mexico than I would Turkey, so I'm a little bit closer. So I knew we had done a charity gig in a hospital for a cancer research hospital in Tijuana, Mexico. So I knew one person in Mexico. I was like, well, we're going there. That's the only person I know in Mexico. And he was from San Antonio, Texas, actually, but he worked in this hospital. So we called him, and he wasn't there. And he had a house in Mexico, but because he wasn't there, he couldn't let us into his house, and everything was quiet.
And at this stage, we were in Mexico. We had nowhere to stay.
So we had enough money for a hotel for that night, but we had a way of getting back to the States if we could just get here. And a lot of beautiful things came. I kept saying to Katrina, God's going to provide, God's going to provide. And we ended up getting this big, huge sum of money through a fund in Ireland the second day after we landed there. And then eventually the guy who I know called me up and he said, hey, I'm not there, but my friend has this place on the beach in Tijuana, Mexico. Just take it. And it ended up being like this very luxurious apartment that could have slept all of our families, this kind of penthouse place. But it didn't have any Wi-Fi, and it didn't have any cell service, and it didn't have any TV or anything like that, which ended up being a beautiful gift because we were there for 2 weeks, and
we had our guitars.
And we
we had more time to write.
We ended up writing a full album, and because we'd just been in Ireland in quarantine, we were coming back to the States, I think we were kind of feeling very called and to come back to the United States, but we were still missing home and thinking, oh, this is a terrible decision, and ultimately it was the right decision. But this song was the song that we wrote that kind of talked about that tug of the heartstrings between a home that we felt called to live here, now home, but still the home that we were, where we're born and raised, and that's where all of our families live. And and I know many people here that are from different states and feel that same tug. Maybe your family lives in different states. But Ireland is known for its green grass, so we thought this was a fun play on that idea. This song's called Greenest.
Still got a box of my old things up in the attic. Photographs of me throughout the years. And my prom dress is still hanging in the closet, with a champagne stain that never disappeared.
There's a dusty Bible laying in a corner. It's the one my grandma passed on down to me. It breaks my heart to know I couldn't take it. I had to leave it all to move across the sea.
Oh, I traveled this wide world seeking adventure. I'm just looking for the better part of me. But if we only have one life to remember, I'm just trying to make the greatest memories. But no matter where I roam, my roots run deep at home, where the grass is always greenest. In the place where I grew up, there are no streetlights. One shop, one church, a million fields and trees. But that woman that I prayed till I got me. If I were me in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, I travel this wide world seeking adventure. I'm just looking for the better part of me. But if we only have one life to remember, I'm just trying to make the greatest memories. But no matter where I roam, my roots run deep at home, where the grass is always greenest. Where the grass is always greenest. And my mama sewed her bed out of the stone. Though I'm gonna don't mean that, I don't think of each of you each day with love. But no matter where I roam, my roots run deep at home, where the grass is always greenest. Where the grass is always